Massive report just released by GM is stunning, and it's especially critical of the engineer who was once in charge of the faulty ignition switch. 7 Action News investigator Heather Catallo has been poring over the report, and she joins us now. Heather.
Joanne, take a look at how extensive this report is. It suggests that GM could have prevented deaths and injuries, and the report focuses a great deal on one man, an engineer who investigators say misled people in the company, leading to catastrophic results.
The report is scathing. Former U.S. Attorney Anton Valukas and his team make it clear that General Motors could have saved lives if engineers and internal investigators had communicated with each other and taken responsibility years before they recalled 2.6 million vehicles. GM has identified 54 frontal impact crashes and 13 deaths that are possibly linked to faulty ignition switches. The switches were mostly used in Saturn Ions, Chevy Cobalts, and other vehicles. The switches can cause the cars to stall while someone is driving, cutting the electricity and keeping airbags from deploying. This 325-page report places a lot of the blame on this man, Ray DiGiorgio. GM has now fired the 61-year-old engineer from Commerce Township, along with 14 other employees and executives. Valukas says GM investigators were misled by the GM engineer who approved the switch in the first place. During a review of millions of documents, Valukas uncovered emails between DiGiorgio and Delphi, the supplier working on the ignition switches in 2002. The emails make it clear DiGiorgio knew there were big problems. Delphi's testing of the torque required to turn the switch clearly showed the switches did not meet GM specs. The report even says "not okay" next to each result. When Delphi suggested it would not cost much to improve the switches, but it would delay vehicle production, DiGiorgio emailed them back saying, quote, "maintain present course," all the while admitting the specifications were still not being met. DiGiorgio even signed his name on that 2002 email as Ray, tired of the switch from hell, DiGiorgio.
If this information had been disclosed, and I believe this in my heart, the company would have dealt with this situation much differently and appropriately.
The report shows DiGiorgio never told anyone that he approved a faulty switch for production. It says, quote, "after interviewing hundreds of witnesses, we have not identified any GM personnel other than DiGiorgio who received or reviewed these test results or knew prior to 2013 that the ignition switch failed to meet the specification when it was approved for production in 2002.
This should have never happened. It is unacceptable.
DiGiorgio and other engineers all later claimed to investigators that they never realized the faulty switches could disable the airbags, which is why the problems never got labeled as a safety issue. Anton Valukas has made a number of recommendations for GM. I'll have more on those tonight on 7 Action News at 6.
Okay.